Welcome to Live Action Star Wars. I'm James.
I'm Ralph.
And today we are talking about Light and Magic Part 2 on the Bucking Bronco.
Right.
Following up from the cliffhanger ending of Part 1 where we don't know if Star Wars is going to get made.
Yeah. Yeah. Guess what?
Guess what, guys? They were fine. They did it.
They were fine.
Well, I mean, you say that they were fine. This episode, it takes a while for you to sort of catch back up to that cliffhanger.
Yeah, but the stuff we get is awesome.
Oh, it's so good.
All of George.
Like the first sort of, I don't know, it felt like the first half of the episode, but it was probably only a third of it at most. But it was a full profile of George Lucas. But I don't know, it felt like it was told differently to all of the other ones that we've seen over the years.
Right.
It was a focus on the car crash. The fact that he was just, he was a hot rod rider, but he was a nerdy hot rod like driver.
Right.
He wasn't Harrison Ford in American Graffiti. He was more like Ron Howard.
Right. I haven't seen American Graffiti in years.
It's been a long time for me. Yeah.
I think I've seen it twice. Once when I was younger, and then in my probably 20s.
Yeah, I think I watched it quite a bit when I was at college because I was doing like a film and TV course, and so like that's when I also watched THX and things like that. But yeah, it's been a long time.
Right. Here, let's say hi to some folks. StreamYard, of course, here every single week.
What's up? I mean, our most loyal follower. They really are. Like, we love you, StreamYard. That duck is here all the time.
Every time.
Yeah.
We're here.
We are.
Sarah's here. I almost wasn't here.
Yeah, I mean, you woke up.
You can hear it in my voice. This is my Ralph just woke up 20 minutes ago voice and made a mad scramble.
You made it. You made it.
I barely made it. And I was telling James, like, I'm tethered in because my normal Bluetooth isn't working. I feel I'm a little bit groggy, but we're good.
It's a different energy. It's a different energy, definitely. I mean, I think
my glasses, which is a total like reflection and distraction because I have morning puffy eyes.
If anyone listened to our episodes of Little Genius, with John Norton, this was halfway through. Ralph decided to put on his glasses, and the intimidation factor was real. Everybody, I'm not gonna lie. Like, it wasn't the fact that it was like 11:30 at night my time by the time we were recording those episodes. It was Ralph's glasses. They threw me for a loop.
All right. I'm gonna take them off because the reflection's distracting.
Joining us, we got Rick's here, Jeremy Kelly's here, Adam is here as well. Morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing well.
I sent a DM to Adam like 10 minutes ago. I'm like, hey, you want to be on the show? He's got a meeting. Well, I'm glad he's able to join us because he said this is his favorite episode, and I'm assuming it has to like completely be about because it's George.
I mean, it's not just his favorite anything of the show. It's of anything ever. Apparently, like potentially, it's up there. I saw when Adam tweeted that out was just before I sat down to watch this episode a few days ago, and I went in with those thoughts in mind, and I was like, hey, yeah, it's pretty great. It is a really, really great episode of a documentary.
Right. Lucha Johnny brings up a very interesting point. What are your plans now that Andor has been pushed back a month? I can tell you this.
Yes.
We were wondering if we were going to do ILM Light and Magic once a week or not.
Or 2 episodes. Yep.
Now we're doing them once a week, which I really want to get to the next 4. I think I can hold out.
I went as soon as the Andor, because I watched this episode a few days ago, and then I was going to watch episode 3 yesterday before we record this one, so that if we were doing 2, which was I think for most of this week, that's been the plan, was to do 2. So I watched episode 2. I watched part 2 of this a few days ago, but then when the news about Andor being pushed broke, I was like, cool, I'm gonna hold off. So I haven't actually even watched the 3rd part of this yet.
So
I'm eager to.
Based on our calendar, we're gonna do these weekly. I'm gonna have a pick. James is gonna have a pick, and then we're gonna get into Andor. The actual day it comes out is going to be up in the air because usually what happens with the new Disney Plus shows, I watch them at 5:30 in the morning and then we record. I don't think I could get up at 5:30 in the morning, watch 3 episodes, and then go in. So possibly, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
And again, like I had the time off to do the 2 episodes at the end of August. I've now not got the time off for the premiere day of Andor in September. So you might get an episode that's the first 2 and then a third one. You might get a few days in a row of episodes, but they'll be sort of more truncated.
Yeah, this is I don't know if people remember this, but this is a spin-off of another series.
Yeah.
We have a show called Invincipod, which we talk about the show Invincible, and since 2006 I podcasted weekly as for Lost and other TV shows. So I never liked doing more than one episode, per podcast.
Back to back, yeah.
So what we did there is we did 3 episodes in 1 week of Invincipod. And I don't know, maybe, if we can we could do 3 days in a row.
Yeah, I think that might end up being the way that we do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, also your schedule in September is still completely up in the air at the moment. So
right.
All of this is very tentative. So at the moment, potentially 1 on the Wednesday, but then Thursday, Friday, or over that weekend, we'll have those 3 episodes done the first week before the 4th episode comes out. Right. I think it's pretty safe to say that we can do that. Right. But how they come out, when they come out, is watch this space, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and all that.
Yeah, Obi-Wan was a wild ride.
Yeah,
because it was 2. We knew it was 2.
Yep.
And then they released it at 9 the night before, and then we had to completely shuffle stuff again last minute.
And again, it's I'm hoisted by my own petard of booking off time specifically so that we can cover a couple of episodes in one day. Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, that's great. You found Invincipod. I think we have 1 video episode.
Ah, cool.
The rest are just the audio ones on YouTube. But if you want, invincipod.com.
It's there. And we will be back. When the show comes back, we'll be back. When we've got a definitive release date and trailers and all that, we'll do episodes.
September 21st.
This year? The same day. Yeah, just
it'll be the same day as Andor.
I'm just going to take the month off work and we'll just podcast for the whole month.
Jeez.
If anyone wants to pay me to do that, I'm happy to.
Crossover.
Yeah. So this episode of Light and Magic, it was great. And it was that first third of it that was a biography of George Lucas. As Adam says here, it's amazing that for fans that have consumed all this stuff, there's still new footage and info to discover. And that's what I was finding. I was like, we know George's history. We know about his time in film school and how he was developing everything. But I don't know. I don't know if it's the way it was presented to us or what, but it was really nice. And it felt like reading a biography of this guy again, a new version of it.
Right. Because I've heard the story before.
Yeah.
But there's new images, new footage. First of all, I think I've seen the land speeder with the mirror underneath.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've seen that before, but you always only see quick snippets, but this had a couple different shots of it.
And you get to see the long extended, the raw footage of it. Yeah.
Yeah. The Mos Eisley spaceport without the map painting.
Yeah. Just with a full canyon.
Cooler.
Yeah, I mean, you could have put it at the back of that canyon. You didn't need it then up on a plateau. The plateau is exactly the same as the Ralph McQuarrie concept art of it, which I guess is what they were going for.
Right.
But the fact that plate shot when they're looking out, they got rid of so much more. I didn't realize. I thought the matte painting was mostly just the spaceport, but it wasn't. It was removing things for the matte painting, which is interesting.
I'm glad they talked about Ralph McQuarrie because he's not necessarily part of ILM.
There was a few people like that, and it was, I was glad because he is still integral.
And so what's nuts about this episode is last week we got all about ILM trying to do their thing.
Yeah.
George Lucas shooting Star Wars and doing his thing. And we get to the point where they talk about, we all got to see it on the big screen and it was amazing. We didn't really hear about George also going to Ben Burt and to John Williams. Like we didn't even get that side of the story. So George doing all this shit, and then still there's stuff we didn't see that he was doing to get this movie complete.
Like Ben Burtt and John Williams, like the sound of Star Wars, like that's a documentary that I want as well. Like, but I mean, you could just do an entire documentary on John Williams and his career in this style, in this form, like having him coming up just through like shitty little projects, and it takes your Spielbergs and Lucases to kind of put him on that next level where he's now widely regarded as the greatest of all time.
Yeah, he might be.
I think it's hard to argue against, really.
Right. 11 Oscars?
Something like that. Like, yeah. When we do get past George, though, like, and we get through the whole thing, it sort of catches back up to when he gets back from London.
Right.
And he's pissed.
Right, but it's funny listening to him talk about it now because there's no
animosity.
Yeah, no.
He doesn't,
because he realizes now what they were doing.
It's what Dykstra sort of was probably trying to say to him at the time. It's like, it costs this much, it takes this long for us to develop this stuff. You wanted it spectacular, you wanted it different, and also you hired us knowing who we are, this band of misfits, this band of outsiders, that we're not going to do things the traditional way. They were always, you put that group together and they are going to do things differently, and it's through that innovation that you get.
What I love about it too is just showing how George doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
By saying, okay, build the Star Destroyer the size of this wall. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
We'll take care of it.
Yeah. You've told us what you want. We'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's that sort of disconnect where it's like George has been like completely stressed the whole time, where he has to go to the hospital because he wants control. The whole thing about his movies is he just wants control. And this is something he can't control. And so when there's nothing to look at, there's nothing. That means he has got nothing to control.
Yeah. It's knowing that he's that level of a control freak that makes you go, the special editions and the prequels and all the previs and everything that they then developed for him. Really, it's that innovation came from his need to have control over it from the ground up.
And I don't know if they'll talk about it on the documentary, but there's Edit Droid, which is like one of the first digital editing systems.
Yeah, it's pre-Avid, isn't it, basically?
Watching this documentary makes me understand why George needed Edit Droid.
Yeah.
Because they just had clips of film everywhere. Like they literally, like you hear about things making the cutting room floor. Like
they had a floor.
there was just film footage everywhere. And I was like, does that just get swept up and tossed? Is there Star Wars footage in a landfill?
Well, it goes back to Adam's point about like new footage and info to discover. It's like, no wonder that there's stuff still being discovered, because some of this stuff might have just got like filed away as we didn't use this, we don't need this. But you take some interns, you trawl through all that stuff, and there's probably some gems in there that maybe not right for the film, but it's really interesting other angles, other takes.
Yeah.
It
makes you appreciate Gold Leader and Red Leader in Rogue One.
Yeah.
Because they had no idea that footage existed until they were making the movie.
Yeah.
And to be able to find that, it's like, oh my gosh. And I think in this documentary, they had different takes.
I'm sure
of Red Leader and Gold Leader.
Like I think we've seen, I've distinctly remember, I think it was on the Blu-ray release, so it might be on Disney Plus, it might not. There's lots of takes from Return of the Jedi, from the Endor battle, where you see like just a slew of cockpit shots where they just had everyone come in, some people put on a mask, some people put on some makeup, and it was just everyone reading basically the same lines, and they would take whatever worked to sort of piece together that battle. But they did the same for this. And there's a lot more of that. Yeah, it's very, very cool. Was it Patricia Rose Duignan when she came in as like the person to sort of organize, and she was the one who's like, there was just shit all over the place, basically. Like I had to come in and kind of try and put some organization to it.
She was at the panel for
Oh, cool.
this, and she is amazing.
Yeah,
You could
she seems
tell
it.
it's still, even at the panel, she was sort of reining these guys in, and just giving them shit. They bleeped the word shit on this
Yeah.
when she showed up and said it was like a shithole or whatever. They bleeped on this. They didn't bleep it at the panel, but there's a story coming up where, and I think we've gone past Star Wars, but I don't know what the next episode is. But there was a story that she told during the panel, about how George showed up with bigwigs
Okay.
to ILM.
Yeah. But from
Sort of,
Fox, like those. Yeah.
sort of unannounced, and all the guys were in the hot tub. And it's like, that's the kind of, it's like this is a sitcom waiting to happen.
That's the dean showing up at the frat house.
Yes,
Like 100%. That's
yeah.
that move. It's
She's like
yeah.
the den mother.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is it's really amazing how all this shit came together. And what's funny is, like, we've seen special effects and we know Star Wars is done, and we've seen it all.
Yeah.
We've seen it all. But when they were showing, like, specifically the X-Wing coming in and swooping in, and then showing George that, and then he's like, okay. And then they did another pass and composited to show George both of the X-Wings coming at the screen and like peeling off. I was like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And it's really like a shot I've seen 100 times, and it's a 2-second long shot, but just
the way that it's done, it's still to this day, I love it. There's an Instagram account that I follow, and he takes the high-end Star Wars model kits, modifies them even more, like with lighting effects and everything in the thing, and then photographs them really well, and then he'll show his whole process of like the layering and like stacking them up and to make these amazing shots. And then he'll put in like digital effects and stuff.
Do you know offhand the handle?
Not off the top, but follow Live Action Star Wars or Live Action SW on Instagram, and I'll share some things to our stories from that guy's account, because it's worth checking out. It's worth a follow for anyone that's enjoying this documentary.
Right. Because that sounds awesome. I love toy photography and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think this is, I mean, watching this is the reason why I don't like the changes in the special edition. I'm fine at the time in 97. That was the only new Star Wars you can get was, hey, it's new footage of Jabba the Hutt, and it's the X-Wing looking cooler, and like there was more Star Wars than just Star Wars. Like there was literally nothing at the time.
Yeah.
There might have been like
Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah.
That was a year before.
Yeah, but not live action.
No.
I mean, was it Rebel Assault 2?
Rebel Assault 2 is about as close as you can get. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you go to Star Tours, so I think watching this makes me just want to see the undone version.
I'd like to. I still like the X-Wing stuff in the special edition. I want the option. We said this last week. Like the special editions now, when you watch them after seeing the high quality shots of the unspecial editions in this, it makes you go, I want it there. Even if I don't watch it as my primary version of watching it, I want it there for posterity. Like I want it to sort of almost honor what these guys did.
Right. And I feel like, we've speculated on when it's going to happen. We thought maybe it would happen with the 40th. I think ultimately it's up to George to give Disney the okay to release those versions. And if anything's going to light the fire under George to say it's okay, would be this documentary.
Yeah. He seems like he's been quite involved with this documentary. He's done all these, like, it's hours of sit down interviews, which are great. And he seems genuinely enthused. Like we've heard stories about after the sequel trilogy and at different stages, his feedback, his reluctance, all of that. We've heard all the internet negativity from the Minox out there. But then you see him on the set of The Mandalorian playing with Baby Yoda, and he seems enthused. You see him sitting down here, he seems like he's loving it, and he's loving reminiscing about all of this stuff. So he's not a bitter old man. He's really, really not. Like,
And
he's made his peace.
and where this ends with him, this episode ending with him saying like these guys are amazing.
Yeah.
Like they I feel like let them show their work, George.
Yeah.
Let them
Yeah.
show their work.
Put it back up on the fridge, basically. Let
Right.
people go and check it out if they want to.
Right. I mean, it's film history. Like I know he thinks it's only 25% of what he wanted to do.
But it's a very important 25%.
Yeah, we like it's huge for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you look at them like on stage winning the Oscar for it, and I think it was Dykstra who was just like, thanks. And that was his entire speech. Is great. I love that. That felt very John Dykstra. But you see them winning that Oscar for those effects. It's like so many of them are now not there. And it's like they were Oscar winning special effects. They were the epitome of what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree.
I agree. Yeah, this probably is the most animated George has ever been on camera, and I think it probably is because when we've seen him do these sorts of interviews before, it's been like mid-production or just post a production that he's been on, and we see what that does to him. Like he says at this point, like filming of Star Wars was a massive burnout for him. Like you can tell from all of these behind the scenes shots that no wonder he didn't want to direct Empire or Jedi. Like after this, he was done. It's amazing, really, that he ever came back to direct again.
But also with this documentary, he's having a conversation with his friend since like 1978.
I think that's a big factor.
And it's different talking to like Leonard Maltin or someone from Entertainment Tonight, you know?
When it's someone you can have a shorthand with, and you know
for over
that
40 years.
And they're not gonna show you in a bad light. Anything if you said something that was maybe a bit shit, they're not gonna go, "Oh, time stamp that. We'll pull that." Yeah, and if he didn't want something on camera on the dock, it wouldn't be there.
Right.
But that's fine on a documentary like this, where it's very much a look back, not a promo piece. I think that's the difference. So many of the documentaries that we get these days are little puff piece promos for something new that's coming out. Even all the Marvel and the Disney Plus show docs that we get now, they're good. I enjoy watching all of them, but they are still promotional pieces as opposed to
they're never about the people involved.
Not really.
It might be the people involved telling the process.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know anything about like Filoni or Favreau. Like the way this documentary showcases George, or the ILM guys. There's none of that.
No, the most I know about Filoni is he came up through like some animation in the 90s, worked on the first season of Avatar, and then George sort of handpicked him. He was like the chosen one to be his successor, kind of thing. That's the most I know about Filoni.
Speaking about Filoni and Favreau, Joe Johnson had my favorite line in this documentary, in this part, where he said nothing is sacred.
I've got it noted down. Joe Johnson,
and
nothing sacred.
That's something that I discuss all the time. Is at the time they were making Star Wars, they were just making a thing.
Yep.
And since Star Wars, it's about living up to Star Wars.
Yeah.
And trying to do things right instead of just trying to get things done. And again, I feel like that's what makes Rogue One and Solo great, is that they're making Star Wars, but their backs were up against the wall and they just had to get it done. They didn't sit there and think about, canon, or I'm sure they did, but at the same time, it's like, just go.
Just do it.
Just go.
Yeah.
George Lucas, when he was making Star Wars, didn't have time to fart around and make an art thing.
So much more freedom to just do it. If something's not working, cool, we can chop and change it. It's not integral at this point. Nothing was integral to the story. As they were saying, like the studio wanted them to cut the Death Star battle at the end.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is wild to think now, but like...
So you know what happens when you cut the Death Star battle? Is you get Green Lantern.
Yeah.
So the movie, nobody gives a shit but me, but the movie Green Lantern, which I'm a big fan, I'm a big Green Lantern fan. If you look at the book, the Art of book, there's like a whole section where like all like there was essentially a battle on the Guardians' homeworld,
Yeah.
and it was all the Green Lanterns versus this big entity.
Wow.
Completely got scrapped. They they essentially cut out the Death Star scene from Green Lantern, so
Yeah.
it gets you chop off the last 20 minutes of your movie and
It
you
just
have
kind of
an hour
ends
and
flat.
45-minute movie that just kind of just ends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you, and then there would be no Star Wars.
No. There would be no Empire. There'd be no nothing. Like Star Wars would just like
If
end
there's
in
no
it.
okay, so they say that oh the princess is rescued. The end. There's no arc for Luke.
No.
Luke didn't have anything to do with the. Well, he had something to do with the princess being rescued, but he didn't have any sort of confrontation after
Yeah.
that. They just
No.
fly to Yavin. The end.
See you later. I mean,
And
you'd
Han
almost have
Solo
to.
does it. Han Solo just continues to be a jerk. Like
But
you need it. You absolutely 100% need it.
you think about if you're cutting out the Death Star battle, how much more you have to cut out throughout the film. Like the threat of the Death Star. Like, there's no point showing blowing up Alderaan if we don't like that sets up the stakes for the end of the film. It's ridiculous. It wouldn't be the same film in
And I think
any
this is the
way.
first time I've heard that they wanted to cut out the Death Star. I don't think I've heard that before.
Like, I think I feel like I may have heard it in passing as a thing that was batted around, but not to the point where they're like at this stage while they are still working on the effects of it. They were like, let's just lose it. Like after they were back from London, sort of thing, is when it seems like that was when they were pushing for it because they were already over budget and they were continuing to go over budget.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's wild to think that was
And the thing is,
ever an option.
one of the two shots ILM had was a Death Star shot.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with that cannon?
Put it on a Star Destroyer.
I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, that goes back to the fact that when George got back, it took Dykstra and everyone to sort of start showing some more shots to prove that the process was worth it, to prove that everything that they'd been doing was worth it.
Can we talk about something that I think is complete bullshit? We've always heard that Spielberg liked Star Wars from the beginning. I mean, he might have been the one that sort of understood it the most of the group of friends.
You look at what the other movies that the other guys were making, and yeah, Spielberg seems like the one who would have a bit more popcorn in him.
But for him to say like he saw that shot of the escape pod and being like, "This movie's going to be great," no way, dude. No way.
You just made Jaws 2 years earlier. Like, it's not like you've never seen special effects before.
Right. It's literally one shot, and it happens at the very, very beginning.
Yeah.
Like you were like, oh, I don't know. It just seemed it sounded like bullshit to me. Like we all know that you liked Star Wars. You were the one guy that liked Star Wars.
He was a champion of it.
Just say I liked it, but don't try to qualify it with like, oh, this one shot of
that was what sold it to him.
Pod is like, yeah. I mean, I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you do have the models. You can see that the models lived in.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like a clean spaceship, but I mean, it's what 3 seconds, 4 seconds long.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I like the fact that it was when they got the Star Destroyer coming overhead. You know, that the iconic thing that everyone quotes as the bit that hooked them. Like after the crawl, that was what grabbed everyone. And the way that they presented it here was when they got that, it was like a reinvigoration for everyone involved. It was okay, now we're onto it. Now, like if we can get that was such a game changer for everyone at every stage of the process.
And they were all excited to watch that, but
yeah,
again, without Ben Burt, without John Williams.
Yeah.
Like that shot looks cool, but I guess you just have to imagine that it's the rumble and the music like sells it.
Yeah.
But just watching them film it.
I mean, it is so iconic. It is such a thing that adds the atmosphere. The music adds like depth and layers to it, but just for the pure visual spectacle of it, I can see why guys who like at this stage, their focus is the visual. So for them, like at that point to go, no, look, we can do this. Trust us. We can do things that are going to wow you.
Yeah.
I thought that was very cool. And then Joe Johnson saying nothing sacred. I think that was when they were talking about the Sandcrawler and just taking that out and rolling it around. Basically, like they had the freedom to do whatever they wanted.
That Sandcrawler footage,
So cool.
yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
I do like the special edition Sandcrawler because we get a good close up shot of it as opposed to just that little tiny one coming over the hill.
Yeah.
But I like to see that every once in a while.
I like it. That first shot of it sort of cresting over in like the broad daylight. I love that shot in every incarnation of it. That's whenever I sit down and watch Star Wars, it's at that point that I go, fuck, I love this.
Yeah. Okay. This is also the introduction to Phil Tippett.
Yeah. He comes in here.
He comes in just to make masks.
And yeah, it's almost like he's brought in to sort of save the day for Mos Eisley Cantina sort of thing. Like it's
like, we just need masks. You know, a guy, and it's like, go get Phil. And was it Ken Ralston? No,
Ken was already there. Was it Ken who brought Phil in potentially?
Yeah, I forget who was with. There was two guys.
Yeah, it was Phil Tippett and his partner basically who had been doing masks and things.
Right, and the fact that they're like, so I'm assuming they're the two Duros talking.
Oh, maybe if it's them in the masks.
Yeah, they kept saying they just got in the masks,
and
so like
they just were throwing masks on other people basically at any point.
Now I want to go look at Star Wars again and see if it's just two people, because a lot of the shots they showed were like there might have been like a little person for the Snaggletooth.
That was shot in London though, I believe. The way that they sort of it's all the booths.
Yeah.
It's the bar was London. The booths were
it was the same booth dressed different.
Yeah, basically a shot from different angles.
But my favorite part of that is that George didn't have a plan for the chessboard yet.
No.
And he said, "Oh, you guys do stop motion?" And gave him, what did he say? Give him like 6 days or something?
Something like that. And it was just whatever models they kind of already had lying around, plus maybe one or two more that they built for it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's I really like the fact that George is like, oh no, have the little guy walk up to the big guy and the big guy throws him. Yeah. And the other guys are watching.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. And it's just like
you look at it what the shot is, and that is exactly what happens. But it takes them to go, okay, cool, right. That's the move. That's the play. And now what can we do to animate around that?
That's George saying, do this thing, and not knowing any idea what that means, and having them then have to go talk to the guys and be like, do you have the footage of the board so we can line up the correct angles?
Yeah.
And it's so crazy because George didn't shoot that chessboard with any of that stuff in mind. Luckily, the shots were locked off. So they didn't have to do like tracking with the table. And it's so funny because if Phil Tippett and those guys and the other dude didn't finish that in the 6 days or whatever, that scene would have probably been cut.
Either cut, or we would have had the like janky just live action people like walking around as like chess people.
Right.
Some version of that, which yeah.
You would know it's people.
Yeah, oh totally. And it would just not look good. Nothing about it would be any good in comparison to what we get.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's all the iconic bits that people remember from Star Wars that people talked about that, you know, still get referenced to this day, but they're the things I feel like when you talk about the original Star Wars.
Like, people have been waiting forever for Chewbacca to pull someone's arms out of their sockets.
Yeah.
And
they had to wait until Solo, I think, didn't they? Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing that's always bugged me about that. There's a difference between ripping someone's arm off and pulling your arm out of your socket. I can pull my arm out of my socket.
Yeah. You can pop an arm out. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, when they did it in the deleted scene of Unkar Plutt, where doesn't Chewie rip Unkar Plutt's arms?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
And it's like, that's not. It's just he pulls the arm out of the socket. Like, it just comes up and poop, pops it. Like, it doesn't tear people's arms off. But in Solo, I do like the joke of Han was going to wear that outfit, and now he can't because he just essentially turned it into a vest, which again
he
should have
loves
been
vests.
where he started getting into vests. That should have been his his first vest. Is because Chewbacca ripped the arms.
He loses too
clean
many
off
sleeves.
of the body.
Yeah.
But yeah, that always
Also,
bugged
really
me.
glad that they cut that Unkar Plutt scene. I used to quite enjoy going back and watching that scene, but justice for Unkar Plutt. He's not a bad dude. Read Shadows of the Sith.
Okay, yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
He is kind of bad.
He's a douchebag. He's a grumpy guy, but like, you know, he's not a nasty bloke. I don't think he is.
What is it? 1/4 portion for her thing that she scrubbed and pulled out of a
Kept her
Star
alive.
Destroyer?
Kept her there, didn't it? He was keeping her safe by keeping her hungry.
I guess. But I mean, I don't know. Okay, so last week I mentioned the music, and I mentioned that the end credits of part 1 sounded like classic 50s sci-fi, and which kind of matched what they were doing with showing those guys in their children films and stuff. And I'm like, it's fine. I said it works for this, but I hope it doesn't happen in the rest of them. And we get new end credits music this week from James Newton Howard, and it sounded more like James Newton Howard than the previous one. So I was very excited.
I was specifically listening to the opening credit scene, and yeah, you can tell that it's written and it would be so good with a full orchestra, but the version that we get isn't.
Right. And again, like James Newton Howard, my second favorite composer of all time. Like I love James Newton Howard. And when I watch a movie, James Newton Howard's like the best at camouflaging his music.
Yeah.
You don't really notice it's there. Like he's really, really good at that. And so when I watch the show, I completely forget because I'm just watching, and whatever he does with the music, it's working perfectly for the scene that I don't even pay attention to it. So I get the I tend to focus on the opening credits and the end credits because that's all that's going on. I don't know if this is something that they would release on Apple Music or something. But
I hope so. It's great.
I need that music.
And it makes me really want James Newton Howard to be like doing a Star Wars score.
Right. Jeremy Kelly says, "Thank you, Ralph. That's always been a minor pet peeve of mine." I don't know what
that was.
When did you drop that down?
So we talk about a lot of things.
I just like that I was
you hit a point.
Agreed with. Yeah. Also, I just want to post this one again because not a lot of Green Lantern shows up in the chat. So just saying.
I mean, I feel like if you panned Ralph's camera around now, you'd see a lot of Green Lantern.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want
to? Yeah, which one?
Yeah, I've got. Yeah, it's everywhere.
Oh, yeah, Jeremy was referring to the pulling arms out of the sockets.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You can pop an arm out of a socket.
Yeah.
Still, bit harsh if you like lose a game of chess.
Yeah. And I guess you can make the leap that when he says it, he's saying it to C-3PO. So he doesn't have a socket, so it would rip his arm off.
It would pop the arm out of him.
Which he's already dealt with.
Which, earlier in the film, we've already seen that be a thing. So it's like, yeah, C-3PO would be able. We know that he'd be fine, but he might just be a bit inconvenienced by it.
So the leap in logic would be tear people's arms out of their bodies. Yeah. And Chewbacca doesn't seem that mean.
No, I think he likes the myth of it. I think he gets off on like Han. Like he's just a really good wingman.
Yeah.
To each other.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've already mentioned Patricia Rose Dugnan. I'm butchering that surname. But when she comes in, it is a case of she's trying to sort of corral the boys a little bit. And it's she
mentions the slip and slide.
She's not a hard ass. She realizes what they're doing, and she's okay with them continuing to do that stuff, but it's like just a little bit more organized. She just needs
to be focused.
You need a little bit of a schedule. Just put something on paper. What are you guys working on today? Like, what are you working on before slip and slide? What are you working on after slip and slide? Like, Give me something that I can take back
And they're
to.
talking about putting in 18-hour days, so
Yeah,
they
exactly. They
need
were
some
there.
sort of release.
Well, that's it. Like the note that I've got for that is, yeah, no, they were working hard and they were playing hard, sort of thing. Like
Yeah,
having the slip and slide would be more of a split if they were doing a 9 to 5 and they're spending an hour of that just dicking around having barbecues and being in this homemade hot tub and slip and slide. It'd
yeah,
be different. But the fact that they're like some of them are living there, basically, they're just pulling up
yeah,
the sofas in their quote unquote screening room and sleeping on them before they go back to work. It's like let them have some fun. And it feels like at that time they were allowed to. They were let have that fun as long as the work was getting done as well. So I thought that was quite cool.
yeah,
But then they were getting down to it. Like as they were getting closer and closer, they mentioned crunch, and crunch gets talked about a lot now in say like video games or movies, and it's now it feels like in the last couple of years people are starting to really come around on no, this shouldn't be a thing. It's inhumane working conditions and stuff. But they're talking about they went into crunch here in early 77 because they were a month away from the film and they still had plenty to do before
yeah,
release.
yeah.
So it's it's not a new concept, but
And I feel
it's
like because they
only
had the freedom
interesting.
to do whatever they want, and the models, like the Joe Johnston designs that they ended up using
Yeah,
for the ships and stuff, were so cool. Like you could kind of tell there was a sense of pride because
yeah,
George wasn't over their shoulder.
yeah.
Like
They could work on things and get them right as opposed to just getting
yeah,
them done. Because
and it's
George
you're
at one
like
point he was like, just finish it, just get it done. I don't. He
yeah,
almost gave up on the quality. He didn't care because he just needed it done because he was so stressed. But they were prideful. They
yeah,
like not even to a detriment. Like they were like, no, we're gonna do it and we're gonna do it right. We're gonna make it look good.
yeah. And I think one of the things is like when I think of bad effect shots in Star Wars, 1977 Star Wars,
Mm.
the only thing I could think of that comes to mind is the land speeder pulling in the Mos Eisley with the Vaseline on the lens or whatever they did.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not something that ILM had anything to do with. So
No, I don't know. I don't know if they would have. I mean, it feels
no,
like they did after the fact, but yeah, no,
that's like the one thing in the special edition of Star Wars that I like
yeah,
are the land speeder shots.
just cleaning it up.
Yeah, I don't need the scurrier rats or whatever. I know they're not wop rats; they're scurriers.
Scurries, yeah.
Um, this is a little bit much, but
There's
that
some of
shot
those
feels
shots.
better.
There's some of those shots going into Mos Eisley where I'm okay with some of the changes, but like just the scope of it is there's
It's too much.
too much. There's too much, yeah, nonsense. Just on screen noise.
Yeah. Anyway,
Mm.
we finished watching this last night,
Mm-hmm.
and another bit of a cliffhanger, I guess.
What's the cliffhanger at the end of this one?
I don't remember,
It was a
and I
few days
just
ago.
watched it because
Yeah.
it was immediately followed up with "You guys are doing these once a week," and I felt bad. I'm like, yeah, but I mean, think about it. We have more time to spend with it, and we have like um, you know, it's not just watched and forgotten. We get to like enjoy it, and we still have more to look forward to. But at the same time, it's like, fuck, I want to get through these. I want to
Yeah.
watch more. I do not want to stop. It had to do with George talking about um, it taking a toll on him and having to work on more or something. I forget. I forget what it was.
It feels
Um,
like it's building to the point where George was like, I'm not directing. Like
right.
I'm not directing the sequel, which is at this point an inevitability because they said they were across the road from Crawman's Chinese and they were seeing the queues lining up and they were like, huh, I wonder what that's for. And then they realized it's their own movie.
They had to have known that their movie was
That's what I'm
playing
saying.
across the street.
They had to have known. Like that seems like a
unless
little
they
bit
unless
of
they thought like something else was happening. Like, I mean, I guess that
maybe,
kind of makes sense. Like,
maybe.
they can't be here for this, which is funny because all this hard work you're putting into it, and George being like, "This is my vision. This is gonna work. This is gonna work," and then him not believing that it worked.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it worked, dude.
Yeah, you got it. You nailed it. Like your vision is there, and it took these guys to see it through.
And the thing is, who I forget who it was said their parents liked the movie. Um, because that's the thing. It had the slick special effects and action that kids like,
Yeah.
but it felt like Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
And I forget who was
I can't
saying, but
remember
they
who
were
it
saying
was.
how it was wholesome and fun, and like that's a throwback
Yeah.
that got old people involved. You know, like it
Basically.
spanned. You know, now they say it with everything. Oh, fun for the whole family. Like moms and dads like it as much as the kids.
The four quadrant movies, sort of like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But it's like George was right in between the teenagers and the old people, like in their 40s.
yeah. He
Like he
was
was,
like, when he was one of the young kids, essentially, like making these movies for his first couple of movies. You know, he was late 20s. I think he was he 31, 32 when
yeah.
he made Star Wars. Um, it it makes you go, fuck, you did all of that at that point. And he is right on that cusp of, like, he can still remember and relate to the younger generations, but he can do stuff that will appease the older folks as well.
This also fucked with me as far as thinking about time in general and seeing little tiny young in college making student films George Lucas in 1969 and being like, oh, that was like 9 years before I was born.
Yeah, yeah.
And just was like, that dude did so much out of college. Like, I love THX. I think THX is great.
It's really good.
And hearing them talk about THX and the studio not getting it I was like, yeah, it's a rough movie.
I could
Like,
see why. Like, I remember
yeah,
the first time I watched it, and I was like,
the first half hour is designed to confuse you.
yeah,
It's to disorient you. And then as it goes on, you start figuring out what's happening
mm,
as the characters becoming more human,
yeah,
essentially,
yeah.
instead of just a cog in the wheel. And his discovery is now turning, helping your discovery like into this world, and you start feeling for that character, and it works. You're on that character's side.
Mm,
Like, I'm in this confusing world with this character that has no emotion, and
yeah.
as the emotion starts seeping in, you start understanding what's happening, and it's a crazy thing. It's like the Matrix, like the first half hour you have no idea what the fuck's going on.
It's one of those things.
And
It's doesn't get talked about as the inspiration for all of these things. When you
mhm,
hear like the Matrix and you talk about all of the other things that have inspired it, but I feel like THX, it's right there amongst all of those old school sci-fi, like your 1984s and things like that. Like,
yeah.
it's around that same sort of theme, and yeah, it comes from the time, but yeah, it's fantastic, and I like that it's still referenced heavily, not just with like 1138 being in everything.
Yeah.
Like, I still, if I look down at a clock and it's 11:38, I still pop for it.
Yeah,
Um, but the fact that it's visually referenced in everything, like the latest Andor trailer just came out, and we saw some more where it looks still,
yeah,
there are elements of what THX in there as well. It's great.
yeah. And then they talk about him doing a comedy. He did American Graffiti, and from the beginning,
Yeah,
you get uh, Ron Howard hearing the genesis of Star Wars and being intrigued. And us again, we hear, you know, 2001 looked really cool, but it was really slow, and I just want to do dogfights in space. And hearing Ron Howard talk about that dogfights in space, and then him directing Solo,
yeah,
he knows Star Wars isn't sacred. Star Wars is dogfights in space. So when it came to Solo, like, it doesn't feel like this overblown mythology. It still has the world building of Star Wars,
yeah.
and it has some of the same characters,
It
but it's treated like a fun adventure. And that's my main hang up with
Last
one of the
Jedi.
movies,
Yeah,
The Last Jedi, which is
yeah.
like, it's not about the mythology. Sure, there's the mythologies in there, and sure, it's about the characters, but there's just like so overblown, over like bloated stuff. And
Mm,
I
mm.
just don't care for. We'll get into that eventually, but I feel like
It makes you
I like the
realize that,
fun and the spirit of ILM. I
like,
like,
I'd still like to see, and or even if there's not the full footage of it, but like I'd like to be able to read the full version of Lord and Miller's version of Solo, just for historical reference. But it makes you go that no matter why they left or were kicked off or whatever it was, for whatever reasons, it makes you go that yeah, Ron Howard really was the perfect choice for that, because he's been in the family like for so long, and the fact that Bryce Dallas Howard's now still doing it and is so integral, and we've all really liked what she's done. It's like the Howards are there with like the George Lucas and Spielberg and all of those crews, like the Howard family. It seems like they're sort of right there with them. I love it. It's cool.
Lawrence Kasdan said this week there was an article that came out that said he would want to do a sequel to Solo, but not a TV show. It would have to be a movie. And I'm like,
okay,
Lucasfilm, let him do it. Just let him do it, because it doesn't have to be tied to all the mythology.
Nope.
It's not tied to Skywalker saga. That
just go ahead. Yeah,
make it happen.
Yeah.
Oh man, I just,
it doesn't need to be Solo 2. You can call it whatever you want. Like just do it and have those characters, or the ones that you want to use again that have got a story to tell. Just use them all again.
Do the Jabba thing.
Yeah,
make Solo 2 movies and that's it. It doesn't have to be its own trilogy, but I really don't want it to be a TV show. I really don't want it to be. It'll make our lives easier.
It will make our lives a lot easier. Yeah.
But just go out and make
we haven't been able to cover a new movie. It's gonna be a few years before we get a new movie to cover. So
if you can like scramble to make Solo 1 last minute, like give it to Ron Howard, let him go make his own and just get it done quick. Like just get it over with.
Yeah.
Get it over with. By this time next year, we could have a Solo 2 if you guys just get it over with. Just do it.
It feels like the sort of film that they would be able to sort of just knock out in a short space of time.
Yeah.
There's something filming at the end of this year that we don't know what. It's presumed that it's The Acolyte. It's filming over here. It's The Acolyte, I think, is
it's not Skeleton Crew?
Don't know yet. I just saw something on Reddit the other day that it's shooting over here, and Ahsoka is shooting in LA at the moment. Don't know about Andor season 2 yet, but I think that the common sort of thought is that it's The Acolyte because of everything that's been announced with that, which makes sense. But you could hide. That's the thing with all these shows in production in various places around the world. You could hide a movie production amongst them, I think, quite easily.
Right.
You can just redecorate some sets, use the volume for some shots if you need to, but like, yeah. It's cool. It's cool. I'm looking forward to watching the next episode of this though next week, or for next week.
This one really made me like Star Wars.
Really, this was the moment.
Really made me and I said this last week, and I probably came off sounding like an asshole, but like, if I only had 1977 Star Wars, I'd be happy.
I think that we'd still be talking about it. I think people would still be talking about it.
I just seeing the clips of them saying they're not doing the Death Star, and then cutting to like shots of Han Solo going Yahoo, like, and the TIE fighters crashing into each other, and Vader spinning off in this. I'm like, it's a perfect movie.
Yeah. Yep.
It's perfect.
Beginning, middle, end. Like it's all 100%
perfect.
Yeah.
I'll give it 98 because I don't like those land speeder shots with the Vaseline.
And only a Sith does in absolutes.
So yeah, I might watch part 3 tonight. I might not wait a week.
I didn't wait a week to watch part 2, but it's one of those things where I made a couple of notes, just the things that I wanted to hit on, because I would have forgotten to bring them up. But it was only a case of, as soon as I read the note, I'll remember what I was talking about when I made it. So
yeah, I just took the 2 notes: the Joe Johnston sacred quote.
I knew I put that down because I knew that it would be something that came up with you.
I mean, I could make that a shirt. I'm gonna put that quote on a shirt and put it in
Nothing
our shop.
sacred.
So sometime I'll even say I can do it probably today on
Cool.
merch.starwars merch.liveactionstarwars.com. I'll put that quote.
And Nothing Sacred shirt.
Yeah, Joe
Looking forward to
Johnston
it. Yeah.
in Star Wars font, so people know it's from Star Wars.
I'm sure that you'll play around with it, and I'm sure that you won't be happy with it first time you
Yeah,
do it, and then you'll you'll
change it.
you'll go in and change it. So
Yeah.
if you want it, and if you want the original version before Ralph goes and tinkers and changes with it, keep an eye, because there'll probably be multiple versions before the week is done.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm a perfectionist, but when I see something could be done better, I can't let it go.
Nope.
I really can't.
Still wait for people to notice the top corner.
Yeah, that live action Star Wars up there.
Yep.
Yeah,
Looks
Yeah.
good though.
it does.
Yeah. Cool. It's another relatively short episode. Like these ones, because we are
This
covering...
was actually longer than the last one.
I mean, it's longer than last week, but we've also talked about other things. We talked about our schedule potential for Andor now, and you know,
Yeah.
we got other bits and bobs. Also, I'm not in any rush today.
I don't want to think about it
No.
because September is when I start working on my project.
Yeah,
in
right
earnest.
around then, right
And,
around that. It's gonna
yeah.
it's gonna be an interesting one. So if Ralph's quality of visual looks a little bit different when we're doing those episodes, that'll be why as well.
Oh yeah,
'Cause,
I might be doing it from my iPad from who knows where.
yeah, we have to blur out the backgrounds and things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, I mean I'm not building sets or
No,
anything.
do it. We can pretend that you're on set with something like super cool. I mean, you are, but like yeah,
Yeah.
we keep it secret. It'll be funny.
We could finally get Bobby on the show. We've been trying. All right.
All right.
All the stuff here. Let's do this.
Yeah, this is it.
All the stuff, and including merch.liveactionstarwars.com. I will do that today. I need to get you the shirt stuff still. We talk about it every week on the show.
We'll get that. We'll get that.
I'll get those to you. I'm sure. I just got to find them.
Yeah.
I have folders and folders and folders of like everything from Dharmalars to
amazing. Invincipod.
Invincipod.
Invincipod had some t-shirts.
Is there Invincipod t-shirts?
I think you made one, didn't you? I can't remember.
With just the logo? Yeah, maybe. I've been doing a lot of Cue the Music ones.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, if going back to when we do have them available in the UK, I mean they're available now, but you just got to pay for the shipping. But yeah, for Star Wars Celebration, anyone that I see, I mean, hell, I'll tell you this: if I ever see anyone in a live action Star Wars t-shirt anywhere, I'll give you a prize or I'll buy you a drink or something. But at Celebration specifically, I'm gonna have some giveaways for anyone that I talk to.
On my Cue the Music store, I have a shirt. I've been doing the credits for composers on shirts. I've done so many. It's like my new obsession. But I have one that says music by John Williams in the Star Wars and credits font.
Amazing.
And matched up perfectly. It's like all lined up exactly how it is on the film. I'll throw that in our live action.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I only have it on that one collection. I can move it wherever I want.
Yeah.
So yeah. Jeremy knows what everything about the project because he follows me on Patreon. Awesome. And he all those folks on Patreon know that exactly what this project is, have been amazing at keeping it under wraps.
Good. So, keep doing that, people. It's really good. I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, me too.
Can't wait.
Me too. All right, let's get out of here. Cool. Looking for the things I need to press. Okay.
Got them?
Got them.
All right. Until next week, go watch Light Magic Part 3 so you can come back and talk to us about it. Until then, don't give in to hate.
Celebrate the love.
Punch it.